What we have discovered about 10 years ago is that one of these amino acids, leucine, is absolutely unique. It's absolutely unique as a metabolic signal. Just like in your brain where there's metabolic signals, there's neurotransmitters and things like that, the signals in your body are driven heavily by leucine. I'll tell you a little bit more about it, but it's a very unique signal, and this is a breakthrough discovery. What we now know is that when you're balancing your diet, particularly during weight loss, but for adults in general, there's a unique balance between the protein in your diet, leucine, and the carbohydrates in your diet, which translates into insulin. So protein and carbohydrates are a very important balance. You heard Justin mention the word balance in the products. These products have been ideally balanced to meet these kinds of requirements. And nobody else gets this. This is what I do in my spare time. I am actually an academic, and so I do boring things like this. We invented a whole bunch of that pathway. So just like the brain and all of the things that go on in your brain and how it works, the signaling here goes on in your muscles. There'll be a test later, so you're sure you get this down. You don't need to remember anything about this in particular, but what it says up at the top is there's a balance between insulin and there's a balance between leucine in your body. When you're young, this system is driven by hormones, and you grow because of growth hormone and you grow because of insulin, and protein is not as important. You have to have it, but the body is so efficient because of the hormones, you'll almost grow in spite of yourself. But as you get older and stop growing, those hormones take on less and less importance. Insulin becomes not very important. Growth hormone pretty much disappears. And protein now becomes the dominant factor. And we need to rebalance. How many of you can consciously say at age 25 you changed your diet? I don't see, no, yeah, I guess that's right. Nobody. Okay? We need to change our diet to look differently as we change that hormone pattern. One of the problems right now in the diabetes field is everybody thinks, well, insulin's the regulator of blood glucose, blood sugar. It's really not. Insulin is a safeguard against excess blood glucose. It's a disposal mechanism. What insulin really is a growth hormone. And when you quit growing, it stops working. We are all insulin insensitive. If you go from the age 15 to age 30, you need 4 times more insulin to accomplish the same task. 4 times more. We're all insulin insensitive. And so if you create a diet that has to have insulin work correctly, 30% of you are going to fail at it. If you don't bring in 10 miles a day exercise, you're going to fail. And not many of us are willing to do 10 miles a day. We'll come back to that point. The point here, though, is there's a balance. And when you're adults, you need to rebalance that protein and carb. As we're rebalancing that protein and carb in our diet, what we're really doing is rebalancing that insulin and leucine pattern. What we want is a diet that is higher in protein, good quality protein, at the right meals, at the right timing, because that gives us the leucine. That gives us that metabolic trigger. Once you do that, you have healthy muscles. I think this was a picture of Craig when he got his hair back. Is that right? That's where I got that, right. You get the right body composition. You have fitness. You have muscle mass. You have the composition you want. On the other hand, if you go to a higher carb, higher insulin, now you're in a mode where the only thing insulin really does in your body is deposit carbohydrates as fat. And basically, we can take David into another form. I was going to say something about looking in the mirror, but I won't go there. Anyway, that's the choices, folks. It's pretty easy, right? Interestingly, if you look at the food guide pyramid, if you look at the guidelines of the federal government, they tell you to eat wrong. If you look at that food guide, how many know what this is? A food guide pyramid. You've all seen it, right? We all learned it in grade school probably. Basically what it tells you to do is avoid eating protein and eat a lot of breads, cereals, rice, pasta, potatoes. High carbohydrate, very starchy carbohydrates. Americans are eating 350 grams of carbohydrates per day. Your need is 130. 3 times your need you're eating there. We're going to rebalance that. That diagram says you should eat 5 to 1 carbohydrate to protein. We know that that creates malnutrition in Africa. We're going to rebalance that to 1 to 1. Introducing a brand new concept that I like, it's called macro balance. We're going to rebalance the macronutrients. We're going to give you a perfect blend of high quality proteins that give you leucine when you need it. We're going to give you the signal. We're going to coin a new term called smart carbs. We're going to tell you what carbs and at what time, and we've got the products to match it. And we're going to use friendly fats because fats are absolutely critical in your diet. Fats are not the villain, they're critical. Fats that you eat with French fries, fats that you eat with ice cream, fats that you eat with candy bars, fats that you eat in snack foods. Those are the villains, all vegetable oils. We're going to rebalance those back with friendly fats. High quality proteins, smart carbs, friendly fats. We're going to invent a concept of carb to protein ratio as we put the products together and as we teach the lifestyle. What difference does it make? I'm going to show you a couple of slides of research right now. This is a graph of protein synthesis. And again, protein synthesis in your muscle is really what leucine is about. Leucine goes into the muscle and it triggers the process of stimulating your body to build new protein. We think about muscles burning calories because you exercise. Muscles actually burn calories because of building new protein. 50% of the calories you burn per day should be in protein synthesis. 50% of them. What this graph says, the white bar on the far left, it says morning. When you wake up after an overnight sleep, basically you've been fasting. You've been in a short-term starvation. The good news is your body is now burning the highest level of fat you're going to burn for the day. You're relying on fat, you're burning fat. The bad news is you're also breaking down muscle protein. The body is living off itself during that starvation. How many of you have heard you should starve once a day or fast once in a while because it's good for you? There's another big myth, fans. That is absolutely the worst thing an adult can ever do. Nonsense. People do not understand metabolism who say things like that. When you wake up after an overnight fast, you're what we call catabolic. You're breaking down muscle protein. And you will continue doing that until you eat protein. Just to show you an example, the second bar there says cereal. This is an average American breakfast. The average American has 10 grams of protein for breakfast. They wake up and they have their cereal, put bananas on it because somebody told them that was good, and they drink a glass of orange juice. 10 grams of protein. What's the effect on protein synthesis? Absolutely zero. You are still just as catabolic after that breakfast, and now, because of all those carbs, you have a high insulin load and you shift into fat storage. The average cereal breakfast makes you fat. Cereal companies have been filling you full of a myth for years, and we continue to buy it. Q-burn is the last bar. This is what we discovered. If you basically use the Q-burn type approach, you balance the protein and carbs at breakfast, basically you trigger protein synthesis. And now you start burning energy. What difference does it make? This is at the end of the Q-burn stage. 90 days out, basically this is the weight loss from a human study. This is a study where we're feeding every meal. We know exactly what they're eating. Basically, with that cereal breakfast, people are losing, on a weight loss diet with a cereal breakfast, they're losing about 15 pounds. But on the Q-burn, on the Q-Life program, they're losing 21. You say, well, that's not too much different. But step back and think about that for a second. These folks are eating exactly the same calories in both groups, and yet they're losing 6 pounds more weight. No effort, no work, more weight. They have no hunger, they feel great. The people on that cereal diet are saying, God, I'm hungry. They're saying, I have these cravings. You know for a fact if they're following this program, because they will never have cravings.